Nice Guy Wednesday continues here on Sekeres and Price as we bring in former Vancouver Canuck and TSN hockey analyst, Mr. Frank Corrado. How are you?
I'm good, boys. How you doing?
Very well, very well.
And don't worry, just because we brought Gilman in on your day doesn't mean you're getting waived or anything like that. I saw your tweet yesterday.
I was getting flashbacks, buddy. I was getting flashbacks. Not from the Vancouver waivers, from the Toronto waivers.
Oh, right.
Wow.
He waived you twice.
That one. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
We were in Boston. It was a game day, and it was a back-to-back, so only the guys that weren't playing went to the rink to skate that morning. And taking the bus back to the hotel, and I refreshed Twitter, and I see Elliot Friedman tweets out that Toronto has claimed Alexei Marchenko off waivers. And I swear to God, in my head, I said, I think we have too many defensemen. And then like 2 seconds after that thought finished in my head, my phone changed screens and Lou was calling me. And hey, Frankie, it's Lou. We've made a transaction today. We've acquired Alexei Marchenko, so you're going to be going on waivers today. So why don't you come see me when you get back to the hotel? And I was like, these guys tweeted out that Gilman's going on Wednesdays. Am I getting the Sekeres Lamorello call? Like, we've made a transaction, Frankie. We're having a new guest on Wednesdays.
Never.
I love how the name Alexei Marchenko is indelibly etched into your brain, right? Because there's no other reason to remember Alexei Marchenko.
Dude, right-hand shot defenseman. I'm like, I swear we have one of these.
Yeah, exactly.
A little too close to
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. What did you make of the Canucks last night, Frank?
Terrible start. Shilov's made some saves to keep them in it. And just it doesn't look connected right now as a team. And that's like a buzzword, I guess. But really, to me, what that means is like I don't see 5 players working in unison up and down the ice. I don't see them generating basically anything in transition or quickly off the rush. And to be honest with you, like the Bluger line with Suter and Sherwood, they get caught on the ice for 2 goals against with the Kucherov line. Like, yeah, it's on the road. You lose your matchups, but to have 2 happen, I think just from top to bottom, that's like, it's not a good performance. Like everyone's leaving the rink feeling crappy about that one. I think Shilov's early would have been happy with how he played, but there was just like there's not enough happening to convince yourself that Vancouver at any moment was going to win that game.
It looked like they were playing with different rules in the first period. Yeah. Like it looked like one team was. I mean, I guess you could say that's because it's the home opener for one team, but a lot of the time the home opener first period for the team that's at home, it isn't that good. But they were maybe inspired by all the hurricane relief stuff, but. I mean, it was 2 different sports, I thought, in the opening 20 minutes.
Well, I think Tampa's a better team than people are maybe giving them credit for. And welcome to the Atlantic Division, where you have to play against Andrei Vasilevsky more often. Like, he still got it, too. Like, quietly, we don't talk about him as much just because, maybe you want to call it a down year last year. But when you get to see that guy play live, you're like, okay, I understand the hype. So there's that. I think, if you just want to look at it from the Tampa point of view, like forgetting that Vancouver didn't play a very good game, did challenge Tampa. The 2 additions they made on the blue line in McDonough and Moser, I think those are big for them. Like Moser seems like he's handling bigger minutes. Well, she played in Arizona anyways. McDonough, like it kind of speaks for itself what he's done. They're big up front. Like I don't think they're a team that's going to go away quietly. And Jake Gensel looks pretty good on the top line as well. I will say, like, Vancouver deserved more calls in that game. Like there's a few that went uncalled, like a couple hookings. They probably deserved to have a power play, but even when they got the power play, I just, there wasn't much cooking really for the Canucks in any aspect of that game.
What have you seen out of Pettersson through 3 games?
I think last night there were some signs that maybe it's coming, but when I watch him play right now, I see a guy who's trying to think his way through it. Like nothing is instinctual about it for him. And is he overthinking it? He clearly cares, because if you are overthinking things, you do care. That's why you would overthink it. But just and we talk about this all the time. He's not the fastest player, but he looks slow. Like when his decision making is slow, all of a sudden the feet look slow, and all those things I just said are not things you want to be saying about a guy who's making that much money, who's supposed to be, the premier player on your team, one of the premier players in the league. So I think last night, it looked like a step in the right direction for his game, but I just think everything's happening slow for him, because he's overthinking things, and it feels like he's making the wrong decision more often than he should be.
Quinn's a -2 on the day, but he looked like he was going to try to put everybody on his back and make something happen. The guy was everywhere.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was doing his thing. And I think that's, it's a testament to him where, team can play, a flat game and that guy still pops. And even the type of game that he plays where he has the puck on his stick so much, it would be so easy for him to be that Jekyll and Hyde kind of player where if things just aren't going well, it can fall off a cliff. Doesn't really happen for him. Like I'm always amazed at what he does and how often he can do it with a lot of success. So he was probably one of the few bright spots outside of Shilov's playing well early on in that game, but just and then the D pairs get shuffled around, and we got to spread out the wealth a little bit last night, and I'm sure that's a big talking point with you guys today.
What do you think Shilovs is thinking that Rick Tocchet was very lukewarm on? Like he didn't throw him under the bus. The words were fine. Rick Tocquet's review of Shilovs, but if you'd listen to the tone, it sounded like Tocchet wanted more from Shilovs, and really, he wasn't great. He didn't save them the game.
No,
but when you score once, you're not winning the hockey.
For sure. I think early he was fine. And here's the, like, if you looked on Money Puck today or yesterday, like the worst goalies in the league when it comes to goal save above expected, like Shilovs is in the bottom 5. So like it has not been a great start to the season for him. And the Canucks, when it comes to what they're giving up, have been one of the better defensive teams right now in the NHL. So, we can kind of come to the conclusion that he has not played to the level that they had hoped, or maybe to the level that he had played in the playoffs last year. And that, like, that poses a concern, because on a night like last night, where I don't know if you're asking too much of him, like ultimately all you want to do is have your goalie give you a chance to win, which, at the end of the day, it's a close game, although it doesn't feel that close when you're watching it, but the score was relatively close. You do have a chance to win. He's just not stealing you a game. But if he can find a way to get himself like to even when it comes to, goal save above expected, and just don't cost your team, then I think those lukewarm feelings feel a little more warm and fuzzy, which it doesn't feel warm and fuzzy right now around the Canucks net, and certain things that may or may not be happening for the Canucks offensively.
Last week, you gave us your review on Erik Brännström, your former teammate in the Senators organization. He's been recalled here. I'm going to read you a tweet from our friend Dave Hall, who covers the Abbotsford Canucks for Canucks Army, and then ask you to respond. Dave writes, I'm very curious to see how Tocchet responds to Erik Brännström. In his 2 games with Abby, it almost felt that he was given the green light to run as a rover, hands and offensive creativity for days, but the total lack of defensive responsibility is very real. Does Tocchet have to make some accommodations here to integrate this player? How do you think that dynamic is going to work?
I actually think it's pretty simple. I think when that first interaction goes down and you bring the kid into your office, you tell him, we need someone who can move the puck, but I'm going to need you to kind of give a shit a little bit defensively as well. Like if you can do that, you're going to have a good chance of playing here more often than maybe you would have thought. And I think that's very attainable for Brännström, because the skill is there. You guys have seen the clips going around in the AHL. Like, he can move the puck. He's moved it in the NHL for quite a while now, and he's found a way to stick around. He had to find a way to stick around because he had to play some level of defense, although it's not prototypical third pair, bigger, burlier guy defense. It's been good enough to play. So I think it's well within his grasp to do so. He's not going to be Quinn Hughes. He's not going to be, run and gun. Ultimately, if he can alleviate some of the pressure by making a good first pass and maybe jumping in on the rush every once in a while, I think that's a home run for Erik Brännström. And just don't be a liability. And he's a smart enough guy that he can figure that out. The hard part is, can you execute it when things just aren't rolling as smooth for the team, offensively. But he will add a much needed puck moving presence. And I will say, I was wrong on the third pair being able to get by. Like they just haven't been able to. Whoever's been put in that situation has been hemmed in, hasn't been able to get through, clean with breakouts and through the neutral zone. And that's a lot of the reason why you don't have success off the rush right now, because it's pretty simple. Your defenseman can't get you the puck. How you gonna attack off the rush?
That was gonna be my next question, Frank. One of the things I love about having Taka here is he really teaches you about the game. It's one of the same reasons why we love having you on Wednesdays, is your ability to communicate the X's and O's of the game. And Taka took us through what he's trying to do in training camp and preseason in generating more rush chances. And he explained that, what they want is the offside winger to charge the middle of the ice. And then they either want to hit that guy with a outlet pass, or, if the outlet pass doesn't quite connect, and, you taught us last year that like 90+% of the plays drawn up on whiteboards by hockey coaches don't wind up working to a T because, spontaneous bounces of a frozen rubber disc. But he was explaining that, look, if we hit the pass, great, because then we're going in the zone, and we're going in the zone with speed because the other winger is really tearing from the red line. And if we don't hit the pass, well, it works as a deflection. And we've got that other winger coming in with pace to either be first on the puck and forecheck. Sounds fantastic in theory and on paper, but do they have the defenseman to execute that outlet pass? And I think that's what we're starting to see here, is that bottom four and making that pass is a difficulty.
Because what happens is, if it gets bungled up, and you're talking about everyone skating, right? Like everyone's skating in motion. And when it gets bungled up, all of a sudden now it's like a stop or a turn back. And now what's the other team doing? Now they're getting their gap and they're tight to you. And it's like, all that speed that you've created just got stifled because someone couldn't put the puck where they're supposed to. The other thing that, the way Tocchet wants to do this, which is, pretty standard, but with that forward coming across the ice, that is supposed to open up the far side of the ice for the defenseman to jump in, all that ice underneath. But if the pass isn't connecting, then the defenseman feels like he's got to hang back. And then you also have to realize, do you have the horses to kind of play that style of game? So if you have Brännström on one pair, theoretically, you have a guy who can either make that pass, and hopefully, if he's not the guy making that pass, he can be the player jumping in on the far side so he can help, kind of facilitate. Because you need a fourth man in the rush now in the NHL. Like a three-man attack, unless the other team makes an egregious error, it's too hard. Like everyone has a lot of back pressure, and I think right now it's a little loose around the league, but pretty soon, like you're going to see that tighten up even more. So like it's imperative that you can get that fourth guy in. It's also imperative that the person who starts it, which is usually the defenseman, can put the puck in an area where it doesn't result in everyone having to stop and turn back and just stifling your own attack.
They're pretty sure they can mold Vinny Desharnais. But I don't know how they're going to get the ice time to do that. Getting him through 82 games, I have no doubt that a remolded Vinny Desharnais is possible for the playoffs, or can be a part of your playoff plan. But it's back-to-back scratchings for him. The next, getting to the 10-game mark, it's going to be interesting to see how many games Desharnais ends up getting under his belt.
I know he was good in Edmonton in the role that he played. Like I really do believe that.
As a distant number 6 sort of thing, you mean?
I guess like just a third pair guy.
Yeah.
And at times he had to pinch hit because Cody Ceci was maybe struggling, and they would put him up and play in the top 4. And that never really lasted. Like that was, him playing out of his depth. But in the role that he played, it was fine. You didn't ask too much of him. The thing is, Vancouver's not asking too much of him. They just need him to be a third pairing defenseman. So I think maybe he's kind of working through a little bit as well. I also wonder this, okay, if I was a defenseman that played for Edmonton and I left that team to play somewhere else. Not saying that Vancouver has a very significant skill drop off to Edmonton, but how different is it when, you're playing for the Oilers and it's just like, if you're out there with Connor or Leon, they can pretty much do whatever they want on the ice. Like how much of playing for the Oilers was just like, oh, Leon came, he's got it, okay, we're good. Or oh, Connor got it, okay, we're good. Like how much easier does that make your life as a defenseman? I'd be curious to kind of, if I could go back and experience that, I would be curious to know that. But he feels like he's working through it. But I don't know. Like it makes me wonder also how underappreciated was Ian Cole in moving the puck. I know he struggled in the playoffs, like no doubt about that. But in the regular season, he would give you more puck moving ability lower in the lineup than what you're getting so far from the guys that are there, and Forbert and Desharnais and Juleson.
Yeah. No, I think it's becoming clear. Another puck transporter, and we'll see what Brännström can do there. You made us smarter again, Francesco. Thank you for the time. We will catch up next Wednesday.
Thanks, Frank.
You guys are the best. Thanks for keeping me around.
Yeah.